Being a boat breaker is an interesting job. It requires me to think about all sorts of things, and certainly when owners call us saying they want to scrap their boat because of this, that and the other, or they want to sell their boat because of this, that and the other, well, I want to talk about exactly that. And I think there's actually 5 areas that we need to talk about when it comes to boat ownership. This is my boat. It'll cost me something to keep this boat out of the water or in the water. We also need to insure it. So yet again, it can sit here all the time, then wind might be blowing, and if it blows over in here, it needs to be insured. We need to cover the cost of fuel, we need to cover the cost of depreciation, and most importantly, keeping it well maintained and serviced. So let's go on the boat and let's talk about this in a little bit more detail and try and add up the cost of what it cost me to own this boat. Let's talk about this boat. Let's talk about ownership of this boat. Let's be realistic. First thing I've got to cover every year is my mooring fees. Whether I'm in a marina, out of the water sat here, on a trailer, or out in the harbour somewhere on a mooring. All of these things are going to cost me. If I keep it on a mooring where it swings around and I row out to it every day, every time I want to use it, that's going to cost me maybe £1,000 a year. If I keep this in a nice marina where I can walk to it, never really get wet, just walk in, step on and put the key in and off I go, that's going to cost me £3,500, maybe £4,000 a year, and that's only a 22-foot motorboat. If you've got a 22-foot yacht, it's going to cost you the same. It takes the same space. If you've got a 22-foot rib, it's the same. It's going to take the same space. I'm teaching you to suck eggs, but that's how it is. So I've got that. I've also got to insure it. So the cost to insure a boat like this is about £300 a year. It's not expensive, but it's a cost I've got to bear, and it's a cost that will just have to be replaced every year. I need to service and maintain this boat, and that's going to cost me quite a few quid every year. And finally, I've got to cover depreciation. Now, a boat like this Mitchell 22 Sea Angler Mark II, you won't get a boat like this for less than 25,000. So let's look at that value and say, right, my depreciation on this boat, let's be realistic, is going to cost me 10% a year, maybe 2.5k. Let's go 2k to make the numbers easy. So I'm paying 3k to 4k for my mooring, wherever it may be. I'm paying 300 quid or thereabouts for my insurance. I'm paying fuel, I didn't cover that. This boat, I probably refuel 6 times a year. And each time I top it up, it will cost me about 100 quid. So that's £600. So 3.5, 300 quid for insurance, £600 for fuel, servicing and maintaining. Well, this boat needs, and your boat will need, anti-foul every year. It will need anodes every year. And whether you've got a yacht or a motorboat, you've got to service that engine. If you don't, something will go wrong. I would say to anti-foul and just anode this boat is going to cost me 500 quid because I can't do it in the water. I've got to get it lifted out. To maintain this engine every year, if I do it properly, and I don't do it myself, I get someone who knows what they're doing, it's probably going to cost me 500 quid. So that's £1,000 a year. And we've covered it. We've covered the cost to moor it, we've covered the cost of insurance, we've covered the cost of fuel, we've covered the cost of servicing and maintenance, and we've covered the costs of depreciation. You add all that up, divide it by 12 if you like, and that will give you an idea of how much it costs to run this boat. There's one thing I have not mentioned, and there's actually the cost of buying the thing in the first place. Now, not everybody's got 25k to buy this boat. Well, it doesn't really matter how much it costs, but you want to own a boat, you've got to accept, you've got to buy it. But I'll put that to one side because your monthly fees of how you repay that is up to you. You may just take the money out of your pension fund or out of your bank, or someone might lend you money. You might get the thing for nothing on eBay. It doesn't really matter. Those other 5 elements all come into effect. The mooring, the maintenance, the fuel, the servicing and the depreciation. Well, we can forget depreciation if you got it for nothing. But at least 4 of those 5 things you've got to cover. Add it all up, but don't tell your wife. That's the cost of owning a motorboat as small as this. Actually, I'd say it's quite depressing. Without me putting any fuel in this boat, it's going to cost me best part of £5,000 a year to look after this boat and keep it maintained. Now that's a lot of money. That's £400 at least a month. That's £100 a week, and that's without me using it. So it's a good thought. It's a good thing to consider when you're owning a boat. Is it actually worth it?